I hired a surrogate for my husband and me, but she and my husband fell in love and are now planning to run off together with my baby. I'm sitting here, staring at this cream-colored wedding invitation, and all I can feel is a cold, churning rage. This isn't just an invite, it's a twisted monument to the day my life imploded, a sickening reminder that the woman who carried my child, and the man I loved, planned to steal my entire future right from under me. Just 10 minutes ago, my ex-husband David had the audacity to call, asking if I'd received their invitation, as if they're some perfect unit now. Like the 8 years he and I spent building a life together, dreaming of forever, never even happened. I threw my phone across the room after that call, and now I just need to get this all out before I completely lose my mind. David and I got married when I was 26. He was 28. Everyone said we were the dream couple, the high school sweethearts who actually made it. We bought a house in suburban Connecticut, white picket fence and all, and we genuinely believed we'd fill it with kids, with chaos, with so much love. But the kids, that part never came. We tried for 4 long, agonizing years. For years of negative pregnancy tests, of awkward doctor appointments, of hormone injections that made me feel absolutely insane. It was the kind of hope that slowly, relentlessly crushes you, month after month. Then came the diagnosis, severe endometriosis. After 3 surgeries, my doctor sat us down and delivered the words that shattered something deep inside me. I might get pregnant, she said, but I probably couldn't carry a baby to term. My uterus was just too damaged. I cried for a week straight. David held me, whispering that it didn't matter, that we had options, that we'd figure it out together. He said together. So, we looked into surrogacy. We spent months poring over agency profiles, searching for someone who just felt right. That's how we found Amber. She was 24, with blonde hair, blue eyes, and this wholesome, girl-next-door energy that instantly put us at ease. She'd been a surrogate once before, for a couple in California, and she told us it was the most rewarding experience of her life. She genuinely seemed to want to help people like us create families. She seemed like an angel sent from above. The agency vetted her thoroughly. Our lawyers drew up contracts. Everything was legitimate, professional, exactly how it was supposed to be. The IVF process was successful on the 2nd try. We used my eggs and David's sperm. That baby was biologically ours. Hold on to that detail, because it's going to be sickeningly important later. I remember the day we found out Amber was pregnant. David and I just held each other, crying happy tears right there in the clinic parking lot. After all the pain, all the disappointment, something was finally going right. We were going to be parents. Amber was perfect at first. She sent us weekly updates, photos of her growing belly, ultrasound pictures. She seemed genuinely excited for us, for our baby. We paid her the agreed-upon amount, plus extra for anything she needed. David and I went to every single doctor's appointment with her. That's where things started to subtly shift, but I was too blinded by gratitude and excitement to see it then. David started going to appointments even when I couldn't make it because of work. I'm a marketing director, and we were in the middle of a huge product launch. Some days, I just couldn't get away. David's a freelance consultant, so his schedule was more flexible. It made sense, right? He'd come home and fill me in. The baby was healthy, Amber was doing great. Everything was perfect. Around month 5 of the pregnancy, David suggested we should have Amber over for dinner more often. You know, make her feel like part of the family, since she's doing this incredible thing for us, he'd said. I thought it was sweet. We had her over every couple of weeks. She'd stay for hours, and we'd talk baby names, nursery themes, all the dreams I'd held onto for so long. I noticed David was texting her a lot, but again, I didn't think anything of it. They were coordinating appointments, sharing pregnancy information. It was normal. Month 7. That's when I saw the first real red flag. But I was so deep in denial, I just painted right over it. I borrowed David's laptop because mine was updating and I had an urgent work email. His messages app was open. Amber's name was at the top of his recent conversations. I know I shouldn't have looked, but I did. The messages weren't explicit, not exactly, but they were intimate in a way that made my stomach churn. Inside jokes. Good morning texts. Him asking how she slept. Her saying she couldn't stop thinking about him. Him saying the same thing back, but then quickly adding, thinking about the baby. I confronted him that night. He looked genuinely confused, swore I was reading too much into it, that he was just being supportive to the woman carrying our child. He made me feel crazy for even questioning it. He held me, said he loved me and only me, that I was just stressed from work and hormonal from all the fertility treatments we'd endured. Hormonal. Like my gut instinct was just chemicals making me irrational. So, God help me, I let it go. Month 8. Amber moved into our guest room. She claimed her apartment was doing pest control, and she needed somewhere to stay for a few weeks. We said yes, of course we did. She was 8 months pregnant with our baby. What kind of monsters would we be to say no? Those few weeks bled into her just living with us, and I watched my husband fall in love with her, right in front of my face. But I kept telling myself I was imagining things. Little touches that lasted too long. Conversations that stopped dead when I entered the room. David constantly asking if Amber needed anything, bringing her tea, rubbing her swollen feet when she said they hurt. I told myself he was just taking care of the mother of our child. The baby came 3 weeks early. A girl. 7 pounds, 6 ounces. Perfect in every way. We named her Emma Rose. I held her in the hospital, and for the first time in my life, I felt truly complete. This was everything I'd wanted, everything we'd worked for. Amber held her too, of course. The agency had prepared us for this, that some surrogates need time to bond before they can let go. It's normal. It's healthy. But the way David looked at Amber while she held Emma? That wasn't normal. That wasn't healthy. We brought Emma home after 2 days. Amber came with us. She was still recovering, still living in our guest room. The agency said she'd need another week or 2 before moving back to her own place. I took my full maternity leave, 12 weeks. They were the best 12 weeks of my life, despite everything else happening. Emma was a dream baby. She slept pretty well, ate well, barely cried. I was exhausted, but I was so happy. David was attentive to Emma. He did night feedings with pumped milk, changed diapers, everything a father should do. But he also did everything for Amber. Made sure she was recovering, okay? Brought her food, spent hours talking with her while I was busy with the baby. I told myself it was fine. She'd given us this incredible gift. The least we could do was make sure she was okay. Week 3 after Emma was born, I walked into the kitchen at 2 in the morning to warm up a bottle. David and Amber were standing by the fridge. Close. Too close. They jumped apart when they saw me. Just getting some water, David said quickly. Couldn't sleep, Amber added. I pretended I believed them. I warmed Emma's bottle and went back upstairs. That was the night everything inside me started screaming that something was fundamentally wrong. But I had a 3-week-old baby. I was sleep-deprived and emotional, still healing from all the trauma of infertility. I didn't trust my own instincts anymore. Week 4. I came home from a quick Target run to find David and Amber sitting on the couch. Emma was between them, looking like a perfect little family. They were laughing at something on David's phone. They looked so happy, so natural, like asterisk that night. After Amber went to bed, I told David she needed to move out. Her recovery period was over. It was time. He got defensive. He said I was being unfair, that Amber had given us everything, that we owed her more compassion. We fought for the first time in our marriage. Really fought. Raised voices, accusations. Me saying he had feelings for her. Him saying I was paranoid and controlling. I cried myself to sleep that night. He slept in the other guest room, not Amber's. The next morning, I woke up to Emma crying. I went to get her from the nursery and found David already there, rocking her. Amber was standing in the doorway, in one of David's t-shirts. His t-shirt. We need to talk, David said. Those 4 words. The worst 4 words in the English language. We sat in the living room. Emma was in her bouncer between us. Amber sat next to David on the couch. I sat across from them in the armchair. The very geography of that moment told me everything. Jessica, David started, and I could hear the goodbye in his voice. These past few months have been amazing. Getting to know Amber, watching Emma grow, being part of this incredible experience, it's made me realize some things about myself, about what I want. I felt numb, like my body already knew what was coming before my brain could even process it. David and I have feelings for each other, Amber said softly. She reached over and took his hand. His wedding ring was still on his finger. That detail made everything so much worse. We didn't plan this. We didn't want to hurt you, but we can't deny what we feel anymore. I laughed. Actually laughed. A harsh, broken sound that didn't even sound like me. You can't be serious. We've fallen in love, David said, as if that was supposed to explain everything. As if love was an excuse for destroying your wife's life. Get out, I said quietly. Jessica, David started. Get out. I screamed. Emma started crying. I picked her up and held her against my chest. Both of you, get out of my house. It's my house, too, David said. Legally, I don't care about legally. Get out before I call the police and tell them you're having an affair with our surrogate and trying to kidnap my baby. Amber flinched at that. Good. We're not trying to kidnap anyone, David said. We just want to figure out a custody arrangement. My blood went cold. Custody? Emma is my daughter, David stated. Biologically, I have rights. She's my daughter. I'm her mother. She has my DNA, David countered. And Amber carried her. Amber gave birth to her. Amber has a bond with her. That's when it truly hit me, the full horrifying scope of what was happening. They weren't just running away together. They wanted Emma, too. No, I cried. Absolutely not. We have a contract. Amber signed away all parental rights. Contracts can be challenged, Amber said, her voice quiet but firm, especially when there are questions about coercion or unclear circumstances. I just stared at her. This sweet girl I'd welcomed into my home, who I'd trusted with the most important thing in my life. She was threatening to take my baby. You signed a contract, I repeated. You were paid. You agreed to this. I agreed to carry a baby for a married couple, Amber said. But the circumstances have changed. David and I are going to be together. We want to raise Emma as a family. She's not your family. I yelled. She's mine. David stood up. I'm going to pack some things. Amber and I are going to stay at a hotel for a few days while we figure this out. I'll have my lawyer contact you about custody and divorce. Divorce, the word hung in the air like poison. They left that afternoon. David packed a bag for himself and took half the baby supplies with him. Bottles, diapers, the expensive stroller we bought together. He kissed Emma goodbye and tried to kiss me, but I turned my face away. That was 6 weeks ago. Since then, it's been a nightmare I can't wake from. David's lawyer sent divorce papers. He's asking for 50-50 custody of Emma. His lawyer claims that because Amber carried Emma, and because David and Amber are now in a committed relationship and planning to marry, they can provide a stable, two-parent home. The implication, of course, is that I'm just a single mother who can't provide the same. My lawyer says we have a strong case because of the surrogacy contract, but she also said nothing is guaranteed. Family court is unpredictable, and judges sometimes rule on what they think is best for the child rather than strict legal technicalities. I've barely slept in 6 weeks. I'm back at work because I have to pay for lawyers now, and my mom comes to watch Emma during the day. She's furious at David, my whole family is. His family is horrified, too. His mother called me crying, apologizing for her son's behavior. That almost made it worse somehow. David picks up Emma for his court-ordered visitation every Wednesday and every other weekend. He brings her to the apartment he now shares with Amber, an apartment that should have been for Emma's college fund. Money that was supposed to be for our future. I pump breast milk for those visits and just imagine Amber feeding my baby my milk while playing house with my husband, my ex-husband. The divorce won't be final for months, but he's already moved on. Which brings me to today. The wedding invitation. I called David back after I threw my phone. He answered on the first ring. Did you get the invitation? He asked, like this was normal, like he was asking if I got his email about a work project. Are you insane? I said. You're actually sending me an invitation to your wedding. To asterisk her, we want to be civil about this, David said, his voice annoyingly calm. For Emma's sake. She's going to grow up with all of us in her life. We need to get along. Emma is 8 weeks old. She doesn't care about your wedding. She will one day. We're trying to do this the right way. The right way would have been not cheating on your wife with our surrogate. I never physically cheated on you while we were together, David said, as if that was supposed to matter. As if emotional betrayal doesn't count. Why did you send this to me? I asked. What do you want? He was quiet for a second, then he said it. The thing that made me throw up after we got off the phone. We're having the wedding at the inn where we got married, the one in Vermont. And since I'm paying for most of Emma's expenses because of the custody arrangement, I thought it would be fair if you contributed to the wedding costs. I couldn't speak. Literally couldn't form words. I'm not asking for all of it, he continued. Just maybe a few thousand. The venue is expensive and with lawyers' fees and setting up the new apartment. I hung up. Then I threw up in the kitchen sink. Then I called my lawyer and told her everything. She said it was inappropriate, but not illegal for him to ask. She said I should keep the invitation as evidence of his character. She said we could use this in court, but I don't want to use it in court. I want my life back. I want my husband back. I want the future we planned back. Except that's not possible anymore. I looked up the wedding date. It's 6 weeks from now. October 15th, a Saturday. The venue is the same place where David and I promised to love each other forever. Where I wore my grandmother's veil and cried happy tears, where we had our first dance to At Last by Etta James. They're taking that from me too. My best friend Melissa came over tonight after I texted her about the invitation. She's been my rock through all of this. She took one look at me and immediately opened a bottle of wine. "Tell me you're not actually considering paying for this," she said. "Of course not. I don't understand how this is my life." "How did I get here?" "You didn't do anything wrong," Melissa said. "David did. And that manipulative little." She caught herself. Amber knew exactly what she was doing. Did she, though? Maybe they really did just fall in love. "Jess," Melissa said, her voice firm. "She moved into your house. She flirted with your husband while carrying your baby. She's now trying to claim rights to that baby despite signing a legal contract. This wasn't an accident. This was calculated." I wanted to believe her, but part of me still felt like I'd missed something. Like if I'd been a better wife, or paid more attention, or been home more, this wouldn't have happened. "Stop," Melissa said, reading my face. "I can see you spiraling. This is not your fault. You were dealing with infertility trauma and trusting the wrong people. That's not a moral failing." She stayed until Emma woke up for her night feeding. After Melissa left, I sat in the nursery, rocking my daughter and crying quietly so I wouldn't wake her. This baby girl with David's nose and my eyes, and Amber's nothing. Amber gave her nothing but a vessel. But legally, that might matter. The next morning, I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I looked up Amber on social media. Her Instagram was public. And there it was. Her whole perfect life with my husband. Photos of them at the park with Emma. Amber holding my baby with a caption, "Blessed beyond measure." David kissing Amber's cheek with Emma in a carrier on his chest. The three of them looking like a magazine ad for family happiness. And the engagement photos. Professional ones. David on one knee in front of a sunset. Amber crying happy tears, her hand extended, showing off a ring that looked expensive. A ring that definitely cost more than a few $1,000s for a wedding contribution. I scrolled back further, found photos from during her pregnancy. David's hand on her belly. The two of them at the hospital after Emma was born. Him looking at Amber with this expression of pure love while she held our baby. I checked the dates. Those photos were from when they were still living in my house. When I was at work. When I was trusting them. I found myself rage scrolling through months of photos. Then I saw something that made me stop cold. A photo from 11 months ago, before we even hired Amber, before she was our surrogate. The photo showed Amber at a coffee shop, and in the background, slightly blurred but definitely recognizable, was David. At the same coffee shop. Smiling at his phone. I zoomed in, enhanced it as much as Instagram would let me. That was definitely him. My hands were shaking. 11 months ago. Before we met her through the agency, before any of this started. I called the agency. Asked to speak to the coordinator who'd worked with us, Patricia. A sweet older woman who'd seemed genuinely invested in making our dreams come true. "Hi, Jessica," she said warmly when she got on the line. "How's sweet Emma doing?" "She's good," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I have a question about Amber. About how she came to be matched with us." "Of course. What do you need to know?" "How did she find your agency?" "Oh, she actually applied directly, filled out all the paperwork online. She'd been a surrogate before, so she knew the process." "And you matched her with us based on what?" "Compatibility." "Well, she specifically requested to work with you and David." "That's actually pretty common. Sometimes surrogates see profiles and feel drawn to certain couples. We vetted her thoroughly and everything checked out. She specifically requested us." "Patricia," I said, "can I ask something else? Did Amber know David before becoming our surrogate?" There was a pause. "I'm not sure what you mean." "I found a photo of them at the same coffee shop from before we hired her." Another pause. Longer this time. "That would be a violation of our protocols. Surrogates aren't supposed to have prior relationships with intended parents. The whole point is neutral, professional boundaries." "But you didn't check that?" "We ask, and surrogates sign a disclosure form. If Amber lied on her application." That's when it clicked. All of it. The whole horrible picture. This wasn't an accidental love story. This was planned. Amber had known David before, had specifically gotten herself matched with us as our surrogate. Had moved into our house and seduced my husband while carrying our baby. This was a con. A long, calculated con. And I'd paid her thousands of dollars to pull it off. I got off the phone with Patricia and immediately called my lawyer, leaving a frantic voicemail. Then I called David. How did you meet Amber? I demanded as soon as he answered. What? Jessica, it's 7 in the morning. How did you meet her? Before the surrogacy. We met through the agency, you know this. No, before that. I found a photo. You were at the same coffee shop 11 months before we hired her. So, how did you know her? Silence. Long enough that I knew I was right. David, tell me the truth. It's not what you think, he said finally. Then what is it? He sighed. I heard movement, probably him walking away from wherever Amber was. We met at a conference about 18 months ago. A marketing thing. She was working the registration desk. We talked. Got coffee a few times. It was innocent. You got coffee multiple times with a woman who would later become our surrogate? I didn't know she was going to be our surrogate. That just happened. No, it didn't just happen. She specifically requested us, Patricia told me. Amber asked to work with us. Maybe she remembered me and thought we were a good couple. Are you listening to yourself? You had an emotional affair with her before she ever carried our baby. And then she engineered a way to get into our lives legally. This whole thing was a setup. That's insane, David said, but his voice wavered. Is it really? Think about it. She remembered you from coffee dates a year earlier and just happened to decide you'd be a great surrogate client. She just happened to move into our house. You just happened to fall in love. Jessica, were you sleeping with her before Emma was born? No. I told you, but you wanted to. You had feelings for her the whole time. It's not that simple. It actually is. You met a woman. You were attracted to her. She found a way to get into our lives by offering to carry our baby. And you both waited until the baby was born to blow up my entire existence. I hung up before he could respond. My whole body was shaking. I felt vindicated and furious, and somehow even more betrayed than before. They'd played me, both of them, for over a year. I called Patricia back, told her everything. She was horrified. Said the agency would investigate immediately. If Amber had lied on her disclosure forms, she could face serious legal consequences. The agency could revoke their approval of her as a surrogate, which could absolutely impact the custody case. Then I called my lawyer. I actually got through this time. I told her about the photo, the coffee dates, Amber specifically requesting us. This changes everything, my lawyer said. If we can prove this was premeditated, that she intentionally deceived the agency and you, it shows intent to defraud. It could invalidate the surrogacy contract in our favor. Prove she entered into it under false pretenses. For the first time in 6 weeks, I felt something other than despair. I felt angry. Productively angry. I hired a private investigator. It cost me $2,000 I didn't really have, but I needed answers. 3 days later, he came back with a file that made my jaw drop. Amber and David had been messaging on Facebook for 2 years. 2 years. Since before David and I even started trying IVF, before we knew we needed a surrogate. The messages were flirty, not explicitly sexual, but definitely inappropriate for a married man. David complaining about work stress, Amber being sympathetic, him confiding things about our relationship, about how the infertility was affecting us, about how I was distant and obsessed with getting pregnant. He'd laid the groundwork for this betrayal before Emma was even a possibility. And then about 15 months ago, around the time we started seriously looking into surrogacy, Amber had messaged him, I've been thinking about what you said about wanting kids. I've been a surrogate before. If you ever need someone, I'd be honored to help. She'd planted the seed. 2 weeks later, she applied to the agency and specifically requested our family. This wasn't a love story. This was a calculated plan to steal my husband and my baby. I took everything to my lawyer. She filed emergency motions. We requested full custody based on fraud and deception. We submitted evidence that Amber had violated her surrogacy contract by having a prior relationship with David. We proved she'd lied to the agency. The next court date was brutal. David looked genuinely shocked when our lawyer presented everything. Amber looked terrified. Their lawyer tried to argue that feelings aren't fraud, that people can't help who they fall in love with, that the prior relationship was casual and innocent. Our lawyer absolutely destroyed that argument. She showed the messages, proved the timeline, demonstrated that Amber had orchestrated the entire thing to position herself in our lives. The judge was not pleased, especially when our lawyer pointed out that Amber was still trying to claim parental rights to a baby she'd signed away, while also conducting a fraudulent surrogacy. This court finds the evidence of premeditation and deception compelling, the judge said. The respondent knowingly entered into a surrogacy contract under false pretenses, violating agency protocols and potentially state laws regarding surrogacy arrangements. Until a full investigation is completed, custody of the minor child will remain primarily with the petitioner, Jessica Harrison. The respondent, David Harrison, is granted supervised visitation pending the outcome of the fraud investigation. Supervised visitation. David could only see Emma with a court-appointed supervisor present. Amber wasn't allowed near her at all. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I just felt hollow. Empty. That was 3 weeks ago. The investigation is ongoing. The agency is cooperating fully. Amber could face charges for surrogacy fraud. David's lawyer is trying to negotiate, but my lawyer is going for full custody and a restraining order against Amber. The wedding invitation is still on my kitchen table. Sometimes I look at it and laugh. Sometimes I cry. Last week, David called me from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer. Jessica, please. We need to talk. We have nothing to talk about. Everything goes through lawyers now. Amber's leaving me, he said. I stopped. What? She said this got too complicated. That she didn't sign up for legal trouble. She's moving back to California. Her lawyer is working on getting her immunity in exchange for testimony. Testimony about what? About how this all started. About the plan. His voice broke. Jess, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know she was planning all of this. I thought we just reconnected. I thought it was fate or coincidence. Or you thought it was okay to have an emotional affair with a woman and then hire her to carry our baby. I wasn't thinking. I was stupid. I was flattered that someone young and pretty was paying attention to me. I was feeling neglected because you were so focused on getting pregnant. And don't you dare blame me for this. I'm not. I'm just saying I was vulnerable and she took advantage of that. She manipulated both of us. She didn't manipulate me. She manipulated you because you were willing to be manipulated. Because you wanted an excuse. I want to come home, he said. I want to fix this. Emma needs her father. Emma has her mother. That's enough. Jessica, the wedding is in 3 weeks. David, are you still going through with it? There's no wedding. Amber canceled everything. She's gone. I felt a weird sense of satisfaction at that. Poetic justice. He'd blown up our marriage for a woman who never really wanted him. She'd wanted access to our baby, access to whatever fantasy she'd built in her head. Once that fell apart, she ran. That's not my problem, I said. Can I see Emma without the supervisor? Please. She's my daughter. That's up to the court. If you want to be her father, you'll go through the legal process. You'll take accountability for what you did. And maybe when she's old enough to ask questions, you can explain to her why you tried to give her to the woman who conned us both. I hung up. That was 4 days ago. Yesterday, I got a letter from Amber's lawyer. She's officially relinquishing any claims to Emma in exchange for immunity from prosecution. She's admitting everything. The prior relationship with David, the plan to become our surrogate, the manipulation, all of it. My lawyer says this guarantees I'll get full custody. David will get visitation rights, but Emma will primarily live with me. Amber will be barred from any contact. I should be happy. I won. I get to keep my daughter. But I lost so much getting here. My marriage. My trust in people. My belief that good things come to good people who follow the rules. I'm sitting in Emma's nursery right now, writing this all out because my therapist said it might help to process everything. Emma is sleeping in her crib. She's 4 months old now. She has no idea that her existence caused so much chaos. She just sleeps and eats and smiles at me sometimes. And those smiles are the only thing keeping me going. This morning, I took the wedding invitation and burned it in the fireplace. Watched the cream cardstock and gold letters turn to ash. It felt symbolic. An ending. David sent me an email. He's moving back to his hometown in Ohio, closer to his parents. He wants regular visits with Emma, but he's not fighting for custody anymore. He's not fighting for anything. He sounds defeated in a way that should make me feel vindicated, but it just makes me sad because I loved him. For 8 years, I loved him completely. And somewhere in there, he stopped loving me back and didn't have the courage to just say so. Instead, he let a stranger manipulate her way into our lives and destroy everything we'd built. My mom keeps saying I dodged a bullet. That I found out who David really was before I wasted more years on him. That Emma will grow up knowing her mother fought for her. Maybe she's right, but some nights I still wake up reaching for him. Still expect to hear him in the kitchen making coffee. Still catch myself starting to tell him something funny Emma did before I remember he's gone. The divorce will be final in 6 months. I'm keeping the house. David is paying child support. Amber is somewhere in California, presumably moving on with her life, like she didn't almost destroy mine. And I'm here. A single mother at 34, with a beautiful daughter and a broken heart, and a story that sounds too absurd to be real, but it is real. This is my life now. I'm learning to be okay with that. Learning to find joy in the small moments with Emma. Learning to trust myself again. Last week, I started taking Emma to this mother's group at the library. It's full of women with babies Emma's age, and we sit around drinking terrible coffee while the babies play on blankets. One of the women, her name is Rachel, asked me about Emma's father, where he was in the picture. I considered lying, saying he was working, saying we'd split amicably. But instead, I told her the truth. Not all of it, but the basics, that my husband left me for our surrogate. The room went silent. Then Rachel said, "Oh my God, I read about something like that on Reddit. I can't believe that actually happens to real people." And I laughed. Actually laughed. Because my life has become the kind of story people read online and think is fake. The kind of drama that feels like fiction but is absolutely devastatingly real. Another woman, Christine, touched my hand. "You're really brave," she said. "To be here, to keep going." I didn't feel brave. I felt like I was barely surviving. But I smiled and said thank you. That's where I am now. Barely surviving some days. Thriving others. Learning to be Emma's mom without David as Emma's dad. Learning to be myself without the identity of wife that I wore for so long. The legal stuff is almost over. The emotional stuff will take longer, maybe forever. But Emma is safe. Emma is mine. And every time I look at her perfect little face, I know that she's worth everything I lost to get her. Even if the journey to her was nothing like I imagined. Even if the people I trusted betrayed me in the worst possible way. Even if I'm doing this alone, she's worth it. Last night, I was putting Emma to bed when she grabbed my finger and held on tight. It's a reflex babies have, but it felt like a promise. Like she was saying, "I'm here. We're okay. We've got this." And maybe we do. I still have the house with the white picket fence. I still have my job. I still have my family and friends who showed up when everything fell apart. I still have my health and my strength and my daughter. David sent another email yesterday. Said he's seeing a therapist. Said he's trying to understand why he made the choices he made. Said he wants to be a better father to Emma, even if he can't be my husband anymore. I didn't respond. Maybe I will eventually. Maybe Emma deserves to have her father in her life in whatever limited capacity he can provide. But I don't owe him forgiveness. I don't owe him anything. The invitation is ashes. The marriage is ending. The woman who tried to steal my family is gone. And I'm still here, standing in the wreckage, holding my baby girl, building something new from what's left. It's not the life I planned. It's not the happy ending I wanted. But it's mine. It's real. It's honest in a way my marriage never was. And some days, that's enough. Today, that's enough.